If you didn't watch the DTM season opener at Hockenheim, you missed one of the series' greatest ever races. It was also one of the most important. Timo Glock's stunning side-by-side near 10-lap duel with Gary Paffett will live long in the memory as the new regulations blew open the competitive picture for 2018. But BMW and Mercedes sharing the wins was also politically charged. Mercedes struck first to make a statement of its intention to take the DTM seriously in its final year in the series. But BMW hit back with Glock, who described Mercedes as idiots for wanting to leave the series.
This was insane. And I just can't say, and this will say all day long, why the fuck Mercedes is leaving this championship. This is the show, this is racing, this is what we showed today. They should not leave. This is motorsport, this is racing, and this was the best fight. I mean, I have to take my head off from Gary. It was so hard, but it was still fair, and it was insane.
That was the voice of our very own Tom Errington, who was covering the race at Hockenheim for us last weekend. Tom, you've covered quite a few races in your time here at Autosport. Where does that one rank for you?
That probably ranks there as the best race I've ever seen live, to be honest. To have 10 laps of real close racing where you could see them planning the move. You know, if Glock was going to make the cut back, Paffett was there ready to seize back along. And the fact that the two cars were so closely matched on the straights, the Mercedes had the edge. Through sort of the tight third sector, BMW clearly had the edge. Just meant that, as Paffett himself said, they could never get that 1 second gap. So the battle just kept on going. Having a train of really good drivers behind them slowly edging in as well, people like Joel Errington, just meant that it really was an incredible race. And yeah, it was gripping.
That was the thing, wasn't it? We had the race will be remembered, the second race will be remembered for the battle between Gary Paffett and Timo Glock, but there was close racing all the way through the field, wasn't there? It was a real vindication of the changes that the DTM has made for this year.
Yeah, I mean, the last few years of DTM, it seems like the weekend's dictated by where you qualify, and there's still a little bit of that to some degree, but the fact that Paffett could go from 11th on the grid to even be in that battle was incredible. People like Pascal Wehrlein, who didn't see much TV time because of the battle ahead, he was able to climb through the field. Paul di Resta, people like that, they were all sort of in that battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth, and there was none of those sort of first lap stops and waiting to see where everything falls. It was sort of take a stop when your tyres were dead and push on and get the best position you could. So it made for a really good mix, and absolutely the regulations played a huge part in that.
We're also joined by Jack Bennion. Now, Jack, you're going to the next DTM race at Lausitz for us as part of our rotating cast. What are you looking forward to, or what are you expecting to see from that weekend?
Well, I think the reduction of downforce has really made a massive difference to the racing this year, as we've seen in the last race. I think Lausitz is quite a similar track to Hockenheim, so we should see more of the same, hopefully more close racing. I think the second race we saw a little bit of resurgence from Audi, so hopefully that's going to come to the fore at Lausitz, because obviously we want all three manufacturers fighting for victory. But yeah, as we said, the track's very similar, so hopefully we'll have more of the same changes.
Yeah, I think Audi were really confused as to how they made that improvement, to go from filling the back slots of the grid to being on the podium and just outside the podium. Yeah, they're not sure how they did that. There was loads of experimentation on Sunday morning trying to find something that would work. They're still not sure, so that's definitely a theme to keep watching. But the fact that you can go from such a poor race to such a good result in the second one gives a bit of hope that we're going to have a really open three-way battle throughout the year.
And if we get that, if we've got all three manufacturers that close together and the cars are this raceable, I mean, this season could potentially be absolutely phenomenal, couldn't it?
I think it really needed a refresh, and although the racing was good at times last year, I think what we've seen in the first race, the signs show that there's going to be some real close racing this year. Glock and Paffett were going chunks at each other, and we were seeing some real door-to-door stuff, which is proper tin top action that you want to see. So this rule change has really brought the cars closer together. It's clearly taken away a little bit of an advantage that Audi had last year with their aero. Hopefully bringing the cars closer together, that can only be a good thing to improve the racing.
Yeah, and that opens an avenue for the rookies as well if the cars are so different. And we saw that a little bit. Joel Errington was right up there. Even though Devalu really struggled last year, he openly said himself nothing went right. He was right up there this time. So we've always seen the DTM that quite quickly there's sort of a lead driver or two and they get focused on. But if you've got 4 or 5 drivers in each make keeping it close, then hopefully you're going to have a really open battle right to the end as well, individually, not just with the teams.
Now, Tom, you were at Hockenheim last weekend. We've talked very briefly about the battle between Paffett and Glock. We have to talk about what Timo said after the race on the radio, then in Parc Fermé in a TV interview. Did he repeat it in the press conference? Because I then know that you talked to him after that and he was still saying it. So that's clearly not a slip of the tongue. He really knew what he was doing there. And can you just explain to everybody exactly what it was like being in amongst the paddock, really, when that's going on? Because it's not very often you get a manufacturer called out by a rival driver, kind of in a positive way, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it was taken as positive by Mercedes, which is obviously a good thing. It's such a surreal situation to have such a fantastic race, and everyone thinks your stories and your headlines and everything are written there and then. And in the media centre, that wasn't straight away broadcast. We all saw it sort of 15, 20 minutes later, and there was shock that a driver was willing to go that far. As Timo says, he's 36, he can say what he wants, so he definitely followed on that. And then, between that period and actually speaking to us in the mix zone, I mean, there was an hour to sort of compose himself, backtrack or do anything, but I was impressed that not only did he double down on it, he was really eloquent in, well, I think this is the best position DTM can be in and this is what's hanging over it. And actually that's just being totally intelligent and reasonable about the situation it finds itself in. It is, really unfortunate for the DTM that it's finally found a platform to work, and its biggest star name that's propped it up for many years is walking away. So, and I think there were a lot of concern in the press as well that perhaps BMW or DTM would give him a bit of a kicking for that, but no, the signs are actually that it was almost encouraged in some respects, and it's because in one way or another it's shining a light on DTM being great for racing, and I'm sure Glock, and there was a hoping that's kind of waving the flag in front of another manufacturer, hopefully.
I think over the winter, obviously Merck announcing that they were pulling out was a big negative. But when you actually look at what we've seen for the first race of the season, it's clear that Mercedes aren't going to roll over and just take it easy this year. They're clearly here to challenge for wins and to really fight for points. So I think although it is a bit sad that they're going to be leaving at the end of the year and there's a bit of uncertainty about what will happen after that, we've got the brilliant benefit that they're actually here to race and they're actually putting effort in. And I think it's going to be great to watch DTM this year in that sense, because we're going to see a real fight. We're not going to see them rolling over and just taking it easy.
And just picking up finally on Glock's sentiment, do you think what he said about Mercedes is going to change their mind? It seems unlikely to me. I mean, you're not going to suddenly find some extra money to run a DTM program just because Timo Glock's told you that you should stick around and he's used the F word.
Yeah, I mean, he said he hoped he'd change the hearts of Stuttgart, but I don't see that happening. The DTM platform now is the cheapest. I can ever remember it. A few people were comparing it to around the price of a GT3 program now.
Wow.
And BMW was saying since they came back in 2012, 70 to 80% reduction in cost, which is staggering. So if that level Mercedes still aren't considering it, and that Formula E and Formula 1's all they want to do, I don't see that changing.